Hey there, it's Johnny here, and welcome to another episode of the 3C Show. And as always, I am super pumped to be here. And today we've got our very special guest back, Jocelyn. You may have seen a previous episode where we had Jocelyn on talking about deep space. So today on the show, Jocelyn's been sharing some amazing macro photographs in the community. And it just so happens that our current assignment is actually macro. So I wanted to bring Jocelyn on the show and talk about these beautiful photographs. And what's cool about these amazing photographs is they've all been taken at home. So anyway, Jocelyn, welcome to the show, mate. I'll just bring you up there. There he is. Welcome, mate. Thanks for your time again, buddy.
Thank you, Johnny, for having me on the show again. So it's a pleasure to be back here and talk about photography.
Yeah, it's great, mate. Some of those photographs have been absolutely amazing. You've been posting. I've just been so inspired by them, buddy. So just for those of you that didn't catch the deep space, which you should go back and watch that one because it's amazing. Some of those photographs you've been creating just blows my mind. But for those who didn't see that one, mate, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what inspires you to do your photography.
Well, I mean, I started photography when I was younger age, when I was 18. Bought my first 35 millimeter back then, and I just started photography. I've always enjoyed nature, deep space, the sky, wildlife, and so on. So, and as it progressed, it kind of stopped. But about 6 years ago, I started back into photography a bit more seriously, and learned more. And just decided to create a little bit more and expand the skills beyond the wildlife and to deep space and macro photography. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome, buddy. And I know I get the same feeling as well. Like you often come to a place in your photography where you're feeling a little unchallenged, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Like there's always another avenue. There's always another place you can take your photography to challenge yourself. And whether it's, trying a different genre or, getting a macro lens or getting, your deep space equipment or whatever it is, there's always a way to challenge yourself. And I think that's one thing that really inspires me about photography in general is you never stop learning. You always learn something new, which is just great.
That is very true. And there's always something to discover, a new technique, a new genre, and so it's that's what's fun about it.
Yeah, for sure, mate. So tell me, what inspired to you said these macro, like where did you come up? We're going to show these photographs in a minute because they're going to blow people away. But where did you get your inspiration for these particular types of photographs to shoot at home? Like, where did that come from?
Well, actually, it came about a year ago, and thanks to the pandemic, that it kind of forced me basically to stay inside because we were in a lockdown. So I started watching some videos of new creative way to do photography, and ended up started watching YouTube videos on macro photography, different type other than just flowers or bugs, because my backyard, I don't have any flowers in my backyard, so I had to become very creative. So I started watching a bit more and more of like the water droplets and little toy scenes type thing, and different genre of type of macro photography that way. So having the time here at home, being in lockdown, I decided to create a little studio in one of our room, and and time went by so fast, and it just kept on going. The creative and of course, being on lockdown, I needed to find a way to keep my sanity, so and stay out of my wife's way sometimes because of course being in lockdown is not always easy. And so that's how it came up to be this spirit of creation in macro photography.
Yeah, that's great, mate. And I love the positive spin on the pandemic. Like it has been such a challenging time for everyone all over the world, and it's great that you've found an outlet for your creativity during such a tough period. And I think that's what, looking at these group of photographs that we're going to show everyone in a minute and talk through how they were created. But I think that's what inspires me the most about this is that you've you've found a way to be creative in the space that you had, and realistically, you know, for me anyway, pure enjoyment of photography, that's where it comes from, when you can unlock that creativity, discover something new, and really that's what inspires me the most to keep shooting. So it's such a great story, man. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, awesome, bro.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
is. It was fun.
Yeah, anyway, no, if you got something to say, mate, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. All good, mate. Yeah. All right, so let's jump over to the screen now. Get rid of my mug and look at these beautiful photographs. All right, mate, this is just incredible. Can you see that? See that one there, Jocelyn? Oh, sorry, mate, I accidentally lost you there. Can you see that one there, buddy?
Yeah, I can see that one. So this is I started the smoke photography. This is so it basically again, watching some YouTube video on smoke photography. I really enjoyed the challenge, and so I went out and bought and actually ordered some incense from Amazon, and decided to do this type of photography. So it's fun because you never know what you're gonna get. Of course, the smoke just come up, and you keep shooting, and you keep shooting hundreds and hundreds of pictures, and then you end up going through those. You sort them through, and then you end up seeing stuff. I mean, seeing shapes and forms and figures within the smoke. So and this one was particularly. I mean, there's no abstract here. Basically, it's easy to see that it's a dancer type thing, or in my eyes.
Yeah, for sure. And
So
that's what's really lovely about it, mate, is like it creates these different forms. So what we're actually looking at is incense smoke, is it? And how
incense smoke
on a black background is obviously
exactly
shot it against black. And tell me, how is it lit? What is that light? Is that just natural light from a window, or do you have flash, or how are you capturing that?
It's a off-camera flash.
Right.
That was actually set on a pile of basically on a block to at the right height that was equal to my that was level to with my the height of my camera. Yes. And it just basically lit the smoke where I was actually shooting. So right. And when I was shooting too is for the smoke photography, I was shooting in the continuous servo, just right. because with a macro, of course, we only have like a few millimeter of play to get everything in focus. So so by shooting in continuous servo, you constantly have the focus on the smoke, and I was shooting basically fast burst, right. High speed fast burst. So, and that's why I ended up with hundreds and hundreds of pictures. Just because, I mean, you got to try it. You got to keep shooting. And what I did too is at some point, the smoke was just like gray smoke coming up and so on. So I decided to be a little bit more creative and start adding a gel, color gel on the flash.
Oh, that's where the color comes from. Makes total sense. That was going to be my next question. How did you get those colors in it? So that's a gel. So what we're looking at is you've got a black background, incense in the foreground. How far is your background away from your foreground? How close is that smoke to the background?
I would say I was about the background was about 2 feet or 3/4 of a meter type thing. Yep. Yeah, about 2 feet behind.
Okay, and then we've got an off-camera flash, what, around 45 degrees, 90 degrees?
90 degrees.
So we've got a 90-degree off-camera flash, and we're obviously on a tripod. All these have been shot on a tripod, haven't they? Most of these photographs we're going to see, you probably take it for granted. You're on a tripod, you're shooting in continuous mode, and how's that sync going with your flash? Because I know you're shooting a continuous, burst. So it's continuous focus, was it? Is that where you're in?
Continuous focus.
Continuous focus.
Yeah, continuous
right.
focus. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And I was shooting like a picture after picture after picture. Sorry, I was not for this one. I was not in fast burst. Sorry.
Yes, I understand.
For that one, it was single shot, but the continuous servo was going just for the focus.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
And then 90-degree flash, and then the color is actually coming from the gel. So the bluey tones, I'm assuming, as like the natural color of the smoke, but the purpley tone, is it coming from the gel? Is it?
Actually, I went a little bit more creative than that, because at some point I just put two, instead of putting my gel, I mean, on the length of the flash, I put two up, down. I put two different colors on the flash.
Split. So that's what the color tones are. That's amazing. That's awesome. I actually thought you might have done that in post somehow, but
I did post for some of those pictures. Is for the smoke is I started using the gradient tool in Photoshop. So I started playing with the gradient tool in Photoshop with some of those pictures.
That's amazing, mate. I love it. I love photography like this, where you don't really know exactly what you're going to get. It's a little bit of trial and error and a little bit experimenting, and that's, it's just beautiful. I mean, this photograph that you sent me is just beautiful. I absolutely love it.
Well, it is trial and error, because I started with the single servo. And until I realized that, I had some pictures in focus, some others weren't, because the smoke is moving a bit back and forth. So this is why I started using the continuous servo, and the flash at different heights, and different angles, different heights. I probably spend like 3 or 4 days just to play with that.
Yeah, that's awesome, buddy. And that's the thing with macro photography too. It's all about slowing down, and even when you're in the field, actually, it's all about slowing down, a little bit of trial and error. Obviously, that changes when you're trying to shoot bugs that are fast moving. But other than that, macro is definitely about slowing down, taking your time, and often manually focusing on things and doing things like focus stacking. So that's awesome, mate. Let's move on to the next one, because I know we've got a few awesome images to talk about.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, explain what's going on here. I had no idea actually what this was. So, what are we looking at?
This is abstract. I mean, while during this whole pandemic was going on, and I wanted to take pictures and I wanted to be creative, at some point I just realized that we had a little crystal candy bowl, sitting on a counter, and then for some reason there was a light coming from the sun from outside, and it kind of gave me the idea to try something. So I took that little bowl and went back into my little studio at the time. And so what I did is I grabbed my iPad and went on search for some pictures of, just a color screen type thing from my iPad, and got the little glass bowl close to the iPad, and decided to shoot the light that was coming through the bowl, if you will, and started looking at that, and it created these stems of light of different colors type thing. So I really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, that's super creative, mate. I love how you've that out of the box thinking, and that's what I love about macro. You're like, there's no way unless you told me that I would know this was a crystal bowl with the iPad behind it with colors on it. Like, there's no way looking at this. And I love that. That's just awesome, man. It's really creative, and I like the way that you've used a pretty shallow depth of field. So it's got this line almost of part that's in focus in the middle, and then the lines run up and get warped through on the side of the bowl with those colors. It's just that's awesome, mate. Very creative.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's really
that was fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a really great example of creating something from normal things that everyone may have around the house. So I think that's something that's really cool. All right,
and that's what it was about, because I couldn't go out and get anything or any material. I had to all to be within the house, and so you become very creative and look at things differently. And it's just a matter of how you look at the objects around you. That's all it is.
It is, yeah, and that's what I said. It helps having a macro lens as well, because it allows you to focus in on little parts that take away the distraction of things that are in the background and the distraction of the whole object, and focus in really small. So
exactly.
All right, mate. Tell me what's going on here, mate. This is really cool. So this is like a dandelion, is it? Or what do you guys call it over there?
Yeah, it's a dandelion clock.
Dandelion.
That's what they
Yep.
call it.
Yep.
Basically, it's this little fluffy thing from the dandelion. That it's only like it's one dandelion clock, just one pluck out of the flower, and so the way I went about this one is add a bowl of water with a bit of milk in it, so we couldn't see through the water. So it kind of make a nice opaque surface,
Mhm.
and so I use a little bit of a little ball of clay to put under the water, so I can actually pluck the dandelion clock in that clay, and which is what just arrive underneath the surface of the water, if you will.
That I never would
And
have known that. That's incredible. So we're
yeah,
looking at a single dandelion. What did you call it? A clock? Is that what they're called?
clock like a
A
clock.
clock. Yeah, right.
Yep.
So a single point, and then we've got a bowl of milk. Is the milk in a clear bowl? Is it so we can get that light reflection, or is it does it not matter
No,
the bowl? No. Okay.
reflection is another background.
Ah, so the
But
reflection is
it's
just from the background. Yeah, right.
yeah. So this is just like a bowl of water. I took like one of those baked dish.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So I had enough room to with the angle I was in and so on. So make sure I didn't catch the end of the bowl. So I went with a dish, a baking dish. That's
Yeah.
what I used. So I filled it with water and put in out just enough milk in it to make the water no longer transparent, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. That makes total sense. And with the backdrop, is that intersecting in the back of the dish so that you can't see the back part of the dish or anything like that? It's sort of almost sitting in the water, the backdrop, is it? In the milk?
Exactly. It's in the back of the dish.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And again, my faithful iPad with a nice pastel type picture, just a color scheme in the back out of my from my iPad.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, so
That's really
and I also
creative.
had the flash. Sorry,
Yeah, right. So you had the off-camera flash again here. Was it off-camera this time or?
off camera. Yeah, all the pictures are off camera flash.
Yep. Okay.
Because they're coming from the side. So just to give you the light, just a nice ambient light, and to get the nice bubble of water or droplets of water, kind of nice and clear. And so what I did is once I had plucked the dandelion clock in the clay, I used a little tiny spray bottle. And again, I tried 3 different spray bottle in order to get there, because the first 2 I tried, the droplets were too heavy, too big, and it just kind of make the dandelion clock like dropped in the water and just like didn't look good, like a wet dog, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. I totally understand that. So you needed a really fine mist so it would just settle on the dandelion. Yeah.
Exactly. So I found my little bottle to a glass cleaner, and it was a little tiny bottle. So I just emptied the glass cleaner that was in the bottle, fill it with water, and those droplets were just fine enough to just set on the dandelion clock and make a nice water droplet look like that.
Yeah, that's great. We might talk about camera settings and stuff at the end, like in a broader term, but we'll just go through how these are set up first. And mate, that's beautiful. That's a lovely shot. I absolutely love that. That's a cracker. And I just love that idea that you're using your iPad as the backdrop, and then being able to use it with different colors and giving you that effect. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, I've tried many colors, many schemes, many patterns, and yeah.
Do you have is it like an app you're using on your iPad to get that, or is it just different photographs or different?
No, I just go on stock photos.
Yep.
And just grab. I just basically Google stock photos and color scheme or something like that, and you come up with. It's just a pattern of colors, or sometimes it's just a straight one color, and that's what I started using.
That's great, mate. Awesome. Love it. All right, let's keep going now. This one's cool. It's like this Jurassic Park feel.
I went back to my youth here as a kid.
Yeah, yeah. I like it.
So we have a little box of toys. So when we have kids coming over, kind of they can get some toys.
Mhm.
So again, some of the YouTube's video, and I got kind of the idea from. But then again, the background is I grab a picture from my iPad from
Yep.
stock photos of the forest and the Amazon type thing, and I had a bit of aquarium. The gravel from my aquarium left over in the garage, so I
Yes.
decided to use that, make a little mount in a lid, a little bucket, a lid of a bucket.
Mhm.
So made a little mount of gravel, and just decided to play with the car and place it different ways and so on.
That's awesome,
So
mate.
and then I just started shooting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. It's really creative, and it just gives that effect, like the cars out in the jungle there.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's really cool. Again, use the off-camera flash there by the look of it as well to light it. Hey,
Yeah, actually, this one was a natural light from the
natural
window.
light. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was.
natural light. We have a big French door in the front, and the
Lovely.
light was coming in, so I decided to use the. That gave me enough light to the that effect. I didn't need the off camera flash.
Yeah, that's cool, and that's a really good tip for people. I was going to mention that at the end, but if you're setting your little macro studio up, and the thing is, you don't need much space, which is really, really cool. You seriously could do it within a couple of meters, hey mate. Like you don't, or a few feet. You don't need a whole lot of room to set these things up, which is really, really cool. So,
Very
but
true.
yeah, putting it, near a window that you can have a little bit of control over, and using that natural light, can often be a great way to get around lighting these things for sure.
Yes.
Awesome,
So,
bud.
so that was really fun to. And again, I mean, hundreds of pictures again. Just try and error and playing with it and have fun.
Yeah, for sure, mate. For sure. I just realised that I didn't get a couple of your photos out of the community, mate. So I'm just going to bring that up while we're talking. Let's talk
Sure.
about this next one now. We've got a little flower with a droplet. Oh, sorry, mate. My lovely screen share, my Discord. All right. There you go, buddy. I'll just grab these other photographs while we're talking as well.
Yep.
What are we
So
looking at here?
so we're looking. We have a little edges. We have edges in the backyard, and I saw some YouTube again video too, and I seen people putting like with a little syringe, putting like a little drop of water on the middle of a little flower. So I said, hey, I'm gonna give it a try too. So again, I went on the backyard, did that, put that little droplet on the flower and just started shooting, and I really like this one because the three green stem coming out, it kind of create a crown around the flower and the water droplet,
Hmm.
and it's the soft background also kind of I don't know, it makes it a little dreamy type thing, and
Yeah,
so
for sure.
that's why I like this one.
Yeah, for sure. And the only
So
thing that's really is catching the focus is that drop. That's interesting. You used like a little eyedropper to put that drop there. Yeah, it's not something I've ever done before with macro. I've used squirt bottles and things like that, but that gives you that more precise way of adding a droplet to something. Yeah, that's cool, mate.
exactly.
Mm.
Plus, you can see a little bit of reflection from the trees behind me and the
Mm.
sun that was behind me. So that
Yeah,
was fun.
that's
It
great,
takes a
mate.
lot of patience to do this kind of stuff, though,
It does.
because it's trying again. Whoop, the drop is falling, or a bit breeze of wind type come over, and I mean, so but it takes a lot of patience to play with these with macro.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's all about really slowing down. But I think that's the key to enjoying your photography, but is not being rushed. And that's something you've heard me talking about it before, mate. Slowing down and not being rushed and just enjoying the moment and, putting everything else aside. It just gives you that sense of, real creativity and freedom with your photography. So that's great. Now mate, I'm going to bring up this one. Look at this photograph.
I think this is one of my favorite. I really, really had a great time doing the water droplet like that.
Mm.
I really had a fantastic time. And this one I probably spent a week just playing with the water and the droplet and different background. And And again, going back to some, YouTube video and see what kind of setup they were doing and so on. So this is basically again another baking dish as a container,
Yes.
and but I didn't put any milk in that one. This one was purely water. Uh, so and well, it was enough camouflage, about 45 degrees, but towards the background. So
Right.
it didn't lit the droplet. It lit up the background, so the background was reflecting in the water and in the droplet.
And that makes total sense because you point the flash directly at that, you're like a highly reflective surface. It just would have been a blown out mess. So yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly,
That makes total sense. Yeah.
and I was getting frustrated at one point because when I started, I started putting 90 degrees, and then everything was too bright. Everything was not. It was not
Yes.
like you kind of lost the sense of scale of depth, and so on. So, and then I was trying it a bit more, and then I decided to just keep the droplets off the flash and have the flash towards the background, and that kind of worked out. And so basically, it was not an iPad this time. It was just a orange sheet that I put in the back with a Canadian flag on the background on the backdrop.
Right.
So, and the idea of the flag actually came to me when I saw some pictures on the internet with a UK flag.
Yep.
So said, hey, so I can do that. So and this is how I tried, and it kind
That's
of worked out.
Yeah, it's still all right. So let's just go over this because this still blows my mind. Right? So we've got a flash that's like a 45 pointing at an orange background with a Canadian flag on it. We've got a dish in front of us, and then we've got the droplet coming down into the dish, reflecting the Canadian flag. And I assume we're on a tripod. We've set our focus manually. Is that right?
So the focus was
Yep.
was manual focus, and to where the drop was falling. So, but that was the trick. That was the tricky part actually, because
Yeah, totally.
try to focus where the drop is falling when it's like water. Then the water drops. So it's kind of really really hard. So so what I came up with is I was walking around the house, and I tried to hold a pan in the location where the drop was falling.
Mm.
But again, I was trying to focus and hold the pen, and so that didn't work out. So anyway, walking around the house, trying to find something small enough to stand above the water and without floating on the water. So I actually found, and I got with me
Oh
this
yeah.
little mouse.
So let's just go to it so you can show that way. Yeah. Show that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I found this little mouse.
Yep.
With that, it's a bronze, so it's heavy enough. I got a thin camera here, which is heavy enough to stay in the water, and that tail was coming out of the water. So I kind of positioned it where the drop was falling on it.
Like,
so at least
I got a question. Before we go any further, how are we getting the drop to land in the same place? Like, what? Obviously, you weren't just holding your hand up there and dropping stuff down, because that's not going to work. So, explain to me how you had the drop set up over top to land in the same place. Because, I mean, that all makes sense with the mouse, totally, but I don't know how you can achieve that. So, tell me how you set that up.
All right. So I built the stand. Well, with everything I had, and some stuff I had in the house, I kind of built the stand with a wooden rod going over the baking dish. Well, about 2 feet high. 2 feet high. And what I did is I put a rag above. I mean, hanging on the little piece of wood type thing, just above. And with a big syringe, what I did is I kept filling it up. And then I was wetting the rag, and as the rag got saturated with water, it started dripping, right? And the way I put the rag also is I make sure the rag ended up in triangle, so the water was coming from the same place.
1 point.
1 point. So, and when it stops slowing down, then I would just put more water, and then the drop would keep falling. So, yeah, it was a very manual system.
Yeah, but that's awesome. I totally makes sense now. Like how, because I'm thinking to myself, how would I get that drop going the same? I'd have to rig up this big thing with 2 ladders and get the gaff tape out and tape a stick across the top. And so, okay, all right. So we've got the setup now. We understand. We've got the water dropping in the same place. We're using the mouse to focus on that tail. All good. So the placement of the flag on the background, like, was that just trial and error? Because you've got this, because you don't want it to reflect on the water, right? So if you had it in a place where it's reflecting on top of the water, like obviously that defeats the purpose of what you're trying to achieve. So was that just trial and error at that point to move the flag up and down the background? Like
it was. I mean, I had many attempts to, lift it up, put it a little higher, put it a little lower, and to make sure that it was reflecting in the droplet and not in the water. So and plus at the beginning I had put it the other way, so it was reflecting the right way. So
right. So when you look through the water, it was upside down when it was upright
upside
in the background. Down. So that makes total sense. So you ended up having to put it upside down so that when it reflects the right way up in the photo.
Exactly.
Makes total sense. Yeah. So,
but it took a little trial and error to figure all that stuff out. And
I bet.
But it was really, really fun, because then the focus was just a single servo, and also I had a little wireless remote to shoot.
Yes.
So also I had it as a commander. My flash, my off-camera flash, was on the slave mode. So every time I was clicking, I was hitting the trigger, and then the flash was going. So, but it was a single, and I was looking at the drops and trying to time my shooting with the.
Yeah, you must have had a lot of
drop falling.
You must have had a lot of photographs. You like, that was not working, because it's one of those things. You just got to take loads of photographs until you jag that one perfect photograph like this. So, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I probably have like 1,000 pictures at least. Just trying to get like probably 5 or 6 good pictures.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's really good. So when it comes to camera settings, obviously all of these you were locked down on a tripod. Some of them were manual focus. Like I'm assuming did you manual focus the car? That's something you would have manual focused, did you? Or did you
the car, everything was manual focus. Yeah. Because I noticed with the macro, because I had worked a little bit with macro before, but not that much, so I wasn't really used to. So I noticed that, and I learned that manual focus, when you use macro, I think it's the best way to go.
Yeah, for sure. In general, unless you're shooting the smoke, obviously that's moving a lot, or you're shooting insects, then you'll go to a servo mode where whatever you point your camera at, it's adjusting that focus point. But that's great. And obviously when you were using the off-camera flash, you're on like 1/200th of a second to sync with the flash, were you?
Well, my camera was 250, so
250 is it? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yep. And obviously that's not an issue if you're using window light or something like that. You can adjust that shutter speed, unless you're trying to capture something moving like this droplet in the sky. Then you'll probably need to go even faster, like I would say 1/500th or 1/1000th even, to capture that droplet. If you not got it, if you're not using a flash to freeze it, I would say. So you'll need those faster shutter speeds, which means you'll probably have to use ISO. So you'll have to bump your ISO up. But
well, actually, the water droplet was 250. I got my notes here. So f10 aperture, aperture, and ISO. I was 100 ISO.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That all makes total sense. And and when you've got the flash, you've got that ability to freeze something with the action, because you've got that flash of light that freezes the action, which you can have. You got to have your shutter speed syncing with that flash speed. So that's 1/250th. But that makes total sense. I think we went over we had a couple of questions from the community too, didn't we? I'll just make sure we answer those. So I think one is about focus. We got that. How did you get the background reflecting water? We touched that. Was there milk in the water? Yep. The camera. Oh yeah. So with the droplet one, how did you angle your camera? It looks like you might be up a touch higher, looking down a little bit. Because if you got too low, you wouldn't have got that plane of the background. You can see the circles going up. So you would have been slightly
Exactly. I
higher
was
than your dish.
just. Yeah, exactly. You hit it on the nail there. I was just a little bit above the water,
Mhm.
and just a slight angle, just so I can also get the like if you notice the hole in the water. So that was actually and that one was actually the first drop going in to kind of open the water before the next one came in. So
Right.
so that's why you have a hole in the water that looks like there's a light coming out of there.
Yeah.
Almost, if you look at the picture.
That's what that is. There's like a channel running down in the. I should bring that photograph
So-
back up while we're talking about it. Let's go back to that.
So what it is
green.
the drop right in front of that one kind of opened up the water before the second one kind of hit the water.
Yeah, for sure. That makes no sense. And this one here is obviously that's the first drop hitting the water, right?
Actually, that was another probably for further down a couple
Was
more
it?
100 pictures. This one is actually I was able to catch it as it broke the water a little bit, just as it touched the water.
That is cool. Yeah, that one's
So-
that's super interesting.
Yeah.
Look
So
at
it didn't, and I got some with the splash coming up also. But that one I really like. Those two I really like because the first one is like it seems like you got light coming out of a hole in the water, and this one which is just kind of breaking the water. The other one, so
Yeah, it's like a flat surface, perfectly reflected, and you've got that broken water. Yeah, that's great, mate.
Yeah.
Really love those.
so it was great timing.
I think the other question was around continuous shutter speed, but I think we covered that one, because using a flash, you're doing a single shot. But if you were set this up at home with window light, you would be able to shoot continuous shutter speed. That's the beauty about that. But then you've got to deal with that extra light. You haven't got your flash to freeze it. So yeah, if I was going to try this at home without an off-camera flash, then I would shoot continuous shutter speed. I think that would be the way to go.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is also I was trying to get the flash going for fast burst, but I couldn't figure out a way to get it going. So this is why I was single shots.
Yeah, I think it's. I think you can. Some of the cameras now they'll sync the flash sync speed is a lot quicker, but it's it's just one of those limitations with flash, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I was looking at the drop started coming down the rag, and I was kind of trying to time it, and it was all luck.
Yeah, for sure. That's what most of this stuff is. It's just you set it up, doesn't work, you adjust until you get what you're looking for. So, yeah, I really love that.
Exactly.
Well, mate, there's some wonderful photographs there and so many great tips you've shared. And actually, I should go with your aperture. You just played around with depth of field, or one thing with macro. If anyone who hasn't shot with macro before, is you're playing a focus. So that's how deep your focus is, because your macro lens is 1:1. It's really shallow. Like you got this, even at f10, normally with our wide angle lens, we'll shoot f11 and get everything in focus in a scene. You were saying, I think this shot you might have said, or the other one was f10, but even the depth of field was so shallow. So I can understand why a lot of these you manually focus, which is it's definitely what I would have done as well. So it's great, man.
Yeah. Well, the varies from the Dandelion. I was at f16 because I mean the since the backdrop was just a color thing, and there was nothing really to be blurry in the back. I used f16 to make sure everything f16 because the depth of field I needed more to be more accurate. I have less depth of field due to the width of the Dandelion Clock. So that's why I went with f16 instead of catching just the very few droplets in the front and everything blurry. I want to get more of it in focus.
Yeah, no, that all makes total sense, mate. Total sense, buddy. Well, I don't know if you've got any other quick tips or anything you learned by going through this process, other than the fact there's an amazing variety of things you can actually do at home when you get a little bit creative. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I mean just patience, and just think about, you don't have to go out and buy expensive stuff to create. I mean, you can create from anything inside the house, and that's my only tip basically. And have fun. This is just about having fun and disconnecting from your day-to-day routine or day-to-day life. Is get yourself, and you get in this bubble when you start doing that stuff. So and it's good for mental health. Definitely.
Oh, for sure, mate. It's great. I mean, that's one of the hugest benefits for me, you know, for my photography. For me, like yesterday I was out in nature and just, you know, feeling a few things have been going on. I went out and come back with this, you know, new outlook on things, you know, got out there and created and just spent some time in nature for me anyway. And that gave me that sense. But yeah, anything creative, I think, you know, if you're out there enjoying yourself, that's the number one thing. You got to make sure you're shooting what you love, mate. The other thing I was going to suggest too, before we get out of it, there's a couple of other. If you don't have a macro lens, you know, there's things like extension tubes that are a really, really cheap way to get into macro. If you just Google extension tubes and your camera model, it's just basically a tube that sits on the back of the camera and goes in between the lens and the camera. And that's a great way to get into macro without having to buy a lens. And there also, something was posted in the community recently too, Jocelyn, was these close-up filters. I know someone mentioned the Hoya ones and Nisi had them. So that's another way to get into having a play around with this stuff without having to go and buy a dedicated macro lens. So that's a really good tip as well.
Yeah, exactly. That was in the community was good tips for those close-up lenses. Definitely, they're cheap, and if you're not into it, I mean, you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on equipment that you may not even use it in the future. So they're definitely a good starting point.
For sure, mate. All right, buddy. Well, where's the best place for people to find you? Is it your Instagram?
Instagram. It's at Jocelyn Labranche, and we'll put the link at the bottom. Yes,
we will.
And so Instagram, and you can contact me through the message in Instagram, definitely.
Sure. For sure. And if you are a community member, if you're part of my photography training community, Team 3CX, then of course this video will be in there, and you can ask Jocelyn questions in there, and he'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction with some of his amazing work. It's been so great to have you on the show, and thank you so much for your time, you know, sharing some of these amazing things you've created, you know, over such a hard time that everyone's had in the world. It's great to see someone come away with, you know, I believe you probably would have never tried a lot of these things without that happening. Like, you know, it was almost like,
You're absolutely right. I mean, that's the fact that I was being stuck in the house, couldn't go do landscape photography or any other type of photography. That's you hit it on the nail again.
Yeah, that's it, mate. All right, buddy. Thanks so much for being on the show, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. It's been another amazing share, and as always, guys, if you're looking to learn more about landscape and nature photography, 3colors.co. And this has been Johnny for 3 Colors. Thanks so much for being on the show, mate. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Johnny, for having me. It was a pleasure.
Awesome, mate. And we'll see you guys next time. And as always, I love you guys. Thanks for all your support, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Peace.